What is the most embarrassing sexual act you've unintentionally been caught doing? Once my roommate walked in when I was balancing a cracker on my dong. Men really are fascinating creatures. I have a weird opposite scenario, not getting caught doing anything, but still incredibly embarrassing. So when puberty hit, eczema came along for the ride in a major way. Obviously, that crap is itchy as heck, but scratching only makes it worse. My parents spent a fair amount of money on specialists, creams and treatments, but I would still scratch, almost compulsively, which made my dad pretty angry because I was ignoring the stern orders of multiple dermatologists. So one night after I've gone to bed, I'm sitting up scratching my leg fairly vigorously and dad walks in unannounced for some reason or another. Not wanting to get in trouble, I stopped immediately, and he turns around without a word and walks out. Comes back a few minutes later with a box of tissues. "You might need these," and walked out again. You played yourself. Was using Skype to masturbate with my now husband. To my vag is full up in the camera. So while I can see him on the camera, you can't see me. I see his mom walk in, see the screen, his dong, and then just turns around and leaves. We both sit up and look at the camera like, oh frick. She never mentioned it to him, and to this day I'm hoping she just thought he was watching pee and didn't see her now daughter-in-law's crotch. This is why people should lock their doors before masturbate. Got home from work one afternoon and my wife was doing something in the kitchen wearing a halter top and a pair of cut-off shorts. So, I walked up behind her, put my arms around her, undid her shorts, and pulled her top down. She was into it, turns around, gets down on her knees, starts giving me a BJ, stands back up, pulls her shorts down. I sit her up the counter. We start screwing. A few minutes later, she says she wants to go doggy, gets off the counter, turns around, leans on the counter. I start going at it again, grab her hair, pull it back causing her to lift her head, and she suddenly says, "Frick, stop." I ask her what the problem is and I look up to see the two guys from the pool cleaning company standing on our patio, looking through our sliding glass door, smiling, with one giving me the thumbs up. We have not fricked in the kitchen in the daytime since. Sounds like this could have turned into a P script. I was riding the living heck out of a rather imposing corn cob that my then BF had bought me on the edge of the tub. My doorbell rang and I heard a close friend hollering. I jumped up and threw on a towel and went to let her in. She ran past me, straight into the bathroom. She said nothing about the corn cob while chatting the whole time through the door. As she comes out, still nothing. I look in. The shower curtain is closed. Phew, I didn't even remember doing that. Finally, she's thanking me for saving her because she really thought she was going to crap herself. Then as she's going out the door, she says, "Watch your footing." I'd hate to read about a death by impalement in the paper. I was mortified. My years of being a total S had not prepared me for that dagger. Your friend is cool. Got caught going down on my ex by her mom. Then, when I finally gathered the courage to face her mom at dinner, she said, "You still hungry? I thought you already ate." She was one of those smoke a spliff with her daughter kinda moms. Masturbating on video. In the 90s we got a video camera and my buddy and I used it to record our band's gigs. I also used it to video record myself masturbating. I don't even know why. Just to see someone masturbate, I guess. Friend comes over to watch one of our shows and I forgot to switch the tapes back or erase the video, and he saw me beating my meat. Riding my boyfriend. My bed faces the doorway. Door opens. It's dad. My bed is quite high, raised and close to the door, and my father is not a man of great height. As the door opens, I am confronted with the friendly face of my old father. We make eye contact. There is no pride or fatherly love in this moment. I scream and jettison off of the dong and hid under my bed like a true hero. My partner of that time was left with his wang out, still tall and proud and slick. My dad didn't say anything. I heard some noises that sounds like the beginnings of questions, but he must have given up because I heard the door close. Nothing was mentioned to me about the incident, but the next day when I came home from school there was a lock on my door. Small victories. Beautifully crafted haiku. My girlfriend and I were going at it like madmen in my bedroom in the middle of the afternoon. It was sort of hot, so we threw the blankets onto the floor and had my shutters open with a fan on. This let a ton of natural light into the room, so there was no missing our naked bodies in that room. My little sister is an arrogant little butthole and was in a crappy phase where she thought she could just barge into anyone's room at light speed for whatever stupid reason she had. Well, you can imagine what happens next when you consider my door had no locks. We're doing the dirty, missionary, completely nude with no covers over us. My sister, like the idiot she is, barges in, and before she can finish her first sentence just screams, "Oh my god." I immediately jumped out from my girlfriend in a panic, leaving her spread-eagled and completely exposed for my sister to see. It all happened so fast because of how quickly she likes to barge in that we really couldn't cover up. She stuttered a bit with a stunned look and walked out the door. Right after I hear my mom laugh from her room knowing what just happened. She gave my sister a hard time about not knocking, and needless to say, she cut that bad habit right then and there. What did her GF do say? I was dressed up in a schoolgirl uniform, pigtails and all, using my phone to video myself putting a butt plug up my butt and masturbating. I was making a steamy video for my so while he was out of town. I'm in my mid-20s, but I'm regularly mistaken for a high schooler, and I even get uncomfortable myself sometimes by how young I look in pigtails. My laptop was open at the foot of my bed, a prime angle for viewing the whole display. The screen was black, so I thought it was off. About 5 minutes into my scene, I hear my best friend's voice say, "Oh wow, okay," then a burst of laughter. We had been video chatting earlier, and I forgot to exit the conversation. My monitor was just in sleep mode. She had left her end of the chat open, too, and opened her laptop to find my pigtailed, plaid skirt wearing self sliding a massive plug up my butt. Now we're closer than ever. 3. I love this. Hilarious and wholesome, although now I'm also unnerved by the pigtails thing. Wasn't a physical act, but we were in the middle of a move, so everything was in boxes. I'm a very unceremonious packer, so I dump drawers into boxes all willy-nilly. I'm also a procrastinator, so FF 3 weeks, and there are a pile of boxes still in my living room. I'd run upstairs to run the bath for my son, then just under 2, hear howling laughter through the front window, and head downstairs to investigate. My son had rummaged through the boxes and was waving a giant pink celeb, shaped like a giraffe, at the mailman through the screen door. I died. That mailman still laughs about that to this day. Not exactly physical, but I got caught taking pictures of my butthole because I had an itchy bump. In that 17 and testing the limits phase, I bought a French-made costume for Halloween. Well, why not use it more than once? My boyfriend and I got a few uses out of the costume and stuffed it in the back of my closet. Fast forward nearly a decade. I moved away for college and never came back. I, being a crappy kid, just left all of my stuff at my mom's. My mom was putting together a game for my little cousin's birthday party, and she needed costumes for it. I danced for 15 years, so I have a ton of ridiculous clothes. For good measure, she threw in the maid costume, which my little cousin then wore for the entirety of her party. Maid costume, dance. When long before I married my wife, we were two teenagers who liked to frick like stoned bunnies, as one does. Anyway, one such session she's riding me cowgirl. When her mom walks in the room, she screams and falls back and out of the room, the door slamming as she does. Future wife says I hope she's okay, and keeps riding. After we finish, she goes and checks on her mom. Her mom was sheepish about it and apologized for walking in without knocking. She comes back to her room and says she says you have a nice dong. For clarity, she was messing with me, and her mom didn't say that. Any woman who can come up with a line like that after her mom catches her riding her teenage boyfriend is marriage material. When I was young, 13-15, I did not really have a source of masturbation, but I was really frisky and got boners all the time. Because of my dad's excessive use of pee, my mom hates it and feels it's completely unnecessary and will ruin my view of fricking. So, I was not allowed my own computer until after I graduated. The only computer was in the family computer room, which had no door and the history was constantly checked. So, while playing The Sims, I began making families of one man who looked somewhat like me, and 4 scantily clad women. I made them make out and masturbate to that. My mom figured I was masturbating to something because I always said hold on when she knocked and the TV was turned off when she entered. She said she was afraid I was being given P videos from upperclassmen. One day she had a plan. She said she was looking for something in the storage closet that's in my room. While I looked, she turned on the TV and made her horrifying discovery. She began asking awkward questions that were shameful and uncomfortable. What's worse, she told her co-workers for advice. Now that I'm grown and have my own computer, I jack off to real pee now. To be fair, when you are at that age you could jack off to a potato with some fortunate bumps on them. When I was in high school, my then boyfriend and I would ditch class to go hide in the bushes by the river to fool around. We had our pants off and I was giving him a handy and he was fingering me right when a couple on a raft drifts by. They are obviously staring and the lady yells out, "Yeah, we can see everything." We burst out in laughter and ran off before she called the cops. I guess not a physical act so much as being caught out. I was 18 living at home, and a friend had an undercover wear party, which is technically for lingerie but actually for adult toys, and I brought my first celeb. It was quite large and had a few veins if I recall correctly, with a pearl white finish. I was excited to get it and played a few times. One day I must have played with it and then sleepily put it under my pillow before going to work. No biggie, I was 18. My mum hadn't made my bed for me for years, and barely came into my room. It would be fine. Got home that day, and my bed was made. Vibrator still neatly under the pillows. Neither of us ever said anything. A while ago I was experimenting with water sports. Pee on my phone at night. My parents were downstairs watching a loud movie so I knew I was safe. When watching the video I hit a button to make it full screen. I hit the wrong button and it started streaming the pee to the TV my parents were watching. They still mention it years later. Okay, I have two, but as usual neither are about me, but these were some awkward situations. Okay, so I sat next to a preppy kid in my physics class in 10th grade. He was a douche. We also had a few freshmen in this class. One of the freshman girls got caught graciously providing dome to two different guys from our class at the same time in a vacant auditorium. By her father WHO worked in the administration. One of the guys was the kid who sat next to me. The way he put it was that she had a knob in each hand and was nailed down between the seated boys and throwing her head back to get the hair out of her face at the moment her father turned on the auditorium lights and that he was no more than 10 feet from them. Now for the one I was involved in. My lady friend and I were looking for privacy so we went to a spot we could pull over in the country. This is also high school. We pull up to our favorite spot to find it occupied. We recognized the car as a friend of ours. We pull up next to them and slam the brakes and hit the horn. Our male friend is in the driver's seat. His best friend's head, also male, pops up out of his lap. And they both had the face of being caught fricking the neighbor's dog. We apologized and drove away, never mentioning it to a soul. Both of those dudes are married with children now and whenever we see them at mutual friends parties they always get a bit sheepish when my wife and I show up. Not that the act itself was embarrassing, but my ex's dad opened the bedroom door when she was giving me oral, so that I was mortified. Luckily it never came up in conversation again. My boyfriend visited me during my break at work. We go to Taco Bell and chill in his car for a little. We start making out, which leads to him eating me out. I hear a tap tap and look up to see a Hispanic man staring at us. He proceeds to tell us, "Holmes, someone is watching you." Hint, the someone was him. Plot twist is that OP has an exposure caught in the act humiliation fetish and is using this material to wildly masturbate, an act for which, he hopes, he'll be caught. Well, I suppose that would mean that you're the one who caught him. Roommate caught me jacking off with a Barbie doll. That was an awkward evening. I can't stop cuming. Worked in a restaurant and was caught screwing a waitress in the walk-in cooler mid-shift. Her mom worked with us and found out. Her dad, a preacher, caught her giving me a BJ in my car after work the same week. We didn't work the same shift much after that. I think her parents would be the least of your worries. The health department would probably have stern words ready. Thankfully never been caught myself, but I did catch my female friend cheating on her boyfriend with a guy from my class. I passed out on a party and I had awakened from my slumber. I caught the two making out. They begged me not tell anyone. I agreed on one condition. They mustn't do it again or I'll let their respective partners know. Caught them again 3 days later. And that's the story how I earned the easiest $200 of my life. Walked in on a friend jilling off. She made it her mission in life to catch me jacking off in return. I'd turn around sometimes and she'd be creeping in a doorway, or I'd catch her trying to sneak into my apt. I had an open door policy with my friends. Plus they had my spare key. Her sister was the one that caught me jacking off, right as I was finishing. Too bad lesbian p, big long nails and all. Said sister happened to be a lesbian. She goes and tells her sister they both make fun of my pee choices while I was taking a post-jack shower. She could have just fricked you. When I was like 14, I was curious about different ways to stimulate myself and had come across straight B gay pee at some point. At night, I decided to see what does it feel like having something up your butt. So I took a toothbrush and put it in my butt while I JO'd. I took it out and it looked nasty. I forgot to do anything with it. About an hour later, my brother goes, yo, WTF happened to my toothbrush? The brush end was spotless, but the whole other part was recently in my butthole. I just said it fell in the toilet. Not sure if he believed me. You mother didn't even use your own toothbrush, lol. When I was in high school and didn't have a license yet, I was at this girl's house who I saw time to time who lived about an hour away. We were hanging out with a friend of hers in her room who had just came over after we ate and her dad had told her friend she was welcome to have some of the leftovers. So after a few minutes of having the door closed, things got a little fun for us. I was going down on her, and as I am kissing my way back up, at this point on her neck, I saw something in my peripheral vision. Fingers still inside. I slowly turned my head and see her very unhappy looking dad standing over me. I was in a frisky teenage phase. I had this massive teddy gorilla that had a hole in the back cause age. One night I thought to frick that gorilla. Mum walked on me in the middle of the night, turned on the light for who knows what reason and catched me with my boxers down missionary fricking that gorilla. She even had the balls to ask what was I doing. I have, thankfully, never been caught in a compromised situation. However, I did once catch two people in an awkward one. I was round a friend's house for one of those half-party things. You know the ones, where it wasn't supposed to be a party, but everyone brought a friend and their friend brought a friend, so 20 people showed up. I was early teens at the time. So anyway, I opened the door to the computer room in the interests of playing some video games. And what do I see? Two of my other friends, let's call them Sam and Luke, watching pee, with their hands down their trousers, or, more accurately, each other's trousers. There were a lot of people around, and I didn't want anyone else to see the poor bastards, so I quickly shut the door. Unfortunately, I was still in the room when I did so. They both jumped up, and Sam dang near hit the floor. So here I was, staring at my two half-naked friends, listening to them both try to come up with an explanation but only speaking in half words and mumbles, trying not to die of both laughter and embarrassment. I felt so bad for them. It suddenly dawned on them what had happened, and they both looked at the floor ashamed, as if their mothers were telling them off. I just gave my usual look of none of my business with a little shrug, told them to pull their pants up before someone else came, and left. The details I was later provided told me this was a common occurrence between the two of them, although I was the only other one that knew. Apparently they're both straight, which judging by their choice of pee might be at least half true. I don't speak to them anymore, so I don't know much else. Told them to pull their pants up before someone else came. You selfish son of a bee. So one night my roommate went out bar hopping, so I decided I'd invite a female friend over. We end up on the couch drinking and watching YouTube vids. One thing leads to another and we start fricking right there on the couch. Right as I'm about to see him, I hear the front door unlock. It's 3 AM and my roommate is drunkenly getting home. Now I'm so close I sure as frick am not gonna stop, so I keep going. My roommate walks in to see me fricking a girl in the butt doggy style on the couch right as I am violently cooming in her butt. No regrets. He caught the vinegar strokes. Not a physical act, but my 4-year-old walked out in the living room with my dildo while I was sitting with my dad. I have never moved so fast. Dang, sorta like me too. Was with my ex doing it in my room when I heard the front door open, which was like a 10-second walk from my room. I never put on clothes as fast as I did that day. GF was giving me first BJ ever, and after about 10 minutes my dad walked in, seemingly oblivious, and said, "We going for pizza in 10, so get ready." We were shook up but continued for a tad longer. I went and got the pizzas with him, and he said she can leave half of it for tomorrow if she is still a bit full, as I was leaving with them in hand. I giggles awkwardly to myself and left. You have an awesome dad. Apparently, a drill sergeant walked in on me jerking it on fire guard in basic. I didn't notice him entering. He did an about face and walked out. Then, in the morning, he just told his platoon about what I was doing. And, honestly, it never came up again after that day. I wasn't sleeping or teabagging my battle buddy, so that was 100% okay. Teabagging my battle buddy, I'm dead. Masturbating in a JCPenney dressing room. Sometimes you just can't wait. The worker there just said you need to stop and come out. Good thing you're not a dude or they would just called the police. I have another one. Not me, but my ex-husband. Snuck a girl in while he was still living with his parents. Did the did with her, including going down on her. Next morning, after sneaking her out, he pops upstairs for breakfast. Mom looks at him, horrified. Dad holds onto the counter for support, while laughing hysterically. Ex has no idea why. Finishes breakfast and goes for a pee. Looks in the mirror, and realizes the entire lower portion of his face is covered in blood. Girl's period came on sometime during their doing, and here he was, thinking he'd gotten away with nailing a broad in his parents' basement. Still the funniest story I've ever heard. IRL. ETA. I called ex to ask, because so many are shocked, horrified, mildly curious how he had not noticed the taste of blood. It was a very odd conversation, as we've only recently become civil after a messy divorce. Anyway, his response: I was pretty stoned that night, and something did taste off, but I didn't want to embarrass her in case it was her normal. Didn't really even consider it might be her period. I was 21 and just stoked to be getting laid finally. That's why you should always wash your face first thing in the morning. Drove to the top of a parking structure and thought it would be discreet AF. Also decided this would be the perfect time to try fricking without condoms for the first time in the backseat of a sedan. Small security guard rolled up in some rinky-dink cart and peered into our car windows as we struggled to put all our clothes back on. We were pretty young and her parents were really strict, so I was super scared we were gonna be metaphorically fricked, but he just told me, "You gotta leave, dude." Thanks, random security guy. Back in college I had just gotten my first decent pocket pee, a Tenga flip hole I believe. Anyways, in the midst of trying it out while my roommates were gone, my Nigerian friend rang the doorbell. I assumed I could pretend to not hear it, finish, and then call him since it was a 2 minutes walk to his place. Instead, he comes in to check if I'm home, walks into my room right as I'm pulling up my shorts. Unfortunately, I left the pocket pee sitting on the desk and he stared at it, started to ask, saw I was sweaty, and just trailed off without asking. It was pretty awkward, but then we smoked and he did his laundry, which is why he came over in the first place. I like that you specified he was Nigerian. This was 3 years ago when I had been dating my girlfriend for a mere month. We were both 16 years old. At the time I lived in my parents' house still, with 4 smaller siblings, aged 13, 10, 8 and 5 respectively. As my GF and I were making love in my room, my sister of 8, whom didn't understand the concept of knocking before entering, barged into the room to witness my GF riding me with the ferocity of a dire wolf going for the kill. As soon as she saw us she screamed, "Mommy, blasphemous God's GF is attacking him." It was a hot summer day, so we had discarded our comforters and so we were bare when my mother rushed to the room. Saying nothing, she pulled my little sister away and just gave me a little look that just screamed, "You know what? We're gonna get you that lock for your door." Good mother. On my old for this, probably highly NSW. When I was a kid, no older than 8, I was pretty bad about picking my nose ears. Like, obsessively so. Eventually it evolved into popping pimples and peeling crusties out of my eyes. All stuff I found satisfying. One day I thought, hey, my other holes must have gross stuff in them too. So, while in the shower, I decided to try picking my butthole. Won't go into detail, but it ended with my mom entering the bathroom and me having 2 fingers up my butt. To be fair, there is something highly satisfying about getting the crusty crap out of your eyes. My mom almost caught me riding back doors with an ex-GF. She went in the room and I was inside my ex and making small talk with my mom while inside her butt. Truly an awkward moment. Opened the front door for my mom wearing clothes that no mother should see her 17-year-old daughter wear. I panicked, tried to run back to my room, tripped on my stripper heels and twisted my ankle. We don't talk about it. I wouldn't have opened the door if I knew it was my mum. Just clearing that up. Me and my ex, 2019, were having fricking in my living room. The house was empty, my mom sleeping at relatives and my dad working overseas, so I thought I don't need to hold back. I'm screaming the pleasure out of my lungs and then someone was at the door knocking really hard. It was my little brother back from school, 8-9 at the time, screaming to let him in because he want to play Xbox. I'm about to see him, so we keep doing it and I still keep moaning like crazy. After a while the knocking stopped, so I thought my brother already gave up and went to his friend's house next door. I'm already finished by then and continue going down on my ex. Just before my ex about to come, I hear a footsteps coming from the top floor. It was my little brother. That little crap climb his way to the second floor with a ladder and get inside through a window. My ex wasn't aware of this situation, blew his load on my face while I'm still trying to process the situation. My little brother just ran past us and turned on his Xbox and said, "Don't worry, I didn't see anything." Me and my ex decided to move to my bedroom and went for round 2. I want to say what a bro, but with how young he was, it feels wrong. My mother caught me sucking a guy's dong. He had also come on me at that point. Oh, we were 26 and 27 at the time. Family dinner got awkward. My boyfriend and I were in the 7th grade, at his grandparents' house for New Year's. Him and his mom lived there. This was the first time I was ever allowed to stay the night at his house since the ball drop was so late. We were in his grandparents' room just waiting around for it to be midnight, and as frisky teenagers are, we started fooling around. I decided I wasn't in the mood anymore, so he started jacking off while I sat on grandma's bed with him and just watched TV. His mom came in as this was happening and screamed, "Oh my god," and ran away. She ended up driving me home, which was an extremely awkward, embarrassing car ride that I still remember to this day, and an explanation to my mom and his grandparents of why she drove me home so early. 7th grade. I'm a male and was 17 at the time. My best friend, let's call him Kevin, was over and we used to frick like we were crazy whenever one of us spent the night at the other's house. It was our big secret that we would never tell anyone. On a Saturday morning, we both woke up and were at my house alone. Well, that means it was time to get to business and we could be as loud as we wanted. We start doing the deed and get into it. My mom makes it home and heard the noises from my room. She opened the door and caught us in the act as he was pounding into me doggy style. That's how she found out I was gay. Good times. A diamond Pepe. It only appears once in ever 20 million memes. This is the rarest Pepe, like in 5 seconds for good luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.